The author of Warhammer 40,000, The Ultimate Guide, has confirmed that female custodians are still part of Warhammer, despite a number of people hoping that it had retconned them out of existence. Roll this up over at fandompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. I encourage you to head on over, become a paid subscriber, help support us in fighting back against this woke ideology that is infecting our culture and our society and trying to destroy it. So a number of Warhammer 40,000 fans believe that Games Workshop might have retconned their own retcon of female Adeptus Custodes based on this Warhammer 40,000, The Ultimate Guide, given it describes Custodes as brotherhoods. The screenshot of the book shared to X by Wokehammer Els shares this. Let's take a look at this right here. You can see it says, as a legion of exceptional individuals, the Adeptus Custodes are less regimented than other Imperial forces, with promotion based entirely on merit. The Captain General leads, aided by a group of 10 tribunes. Below the tribunate, commanders of individual forces are known as shield captains. Armies or shield hosts are formed from across all 5 orders. Dozens of other sub-organizations, brotherhoods, and groupings run through the orders. So a lot of people thought that that was clearly retconning the retcon of the female Custodes. There is another screenshot here as well that Wokehammer Els shared where it says that as custodians accumulate victories, they are awarded a name to commemorate each one. Though these are kept secret from those outside the Legion, and in public, a custodian will continue to use the name granted to him up his investiture. I think I might have upon his investiture. A little bit of a misspelling there on my part. So obviously another reference to the fact that Custodes were male, as they had always been up until, April of this year, when they released the 10th Codex for Adeptus Custodes. So lots of people got their hopes up thinking that Games Workshop might have come to their senses and had retconned their own retcon that they did again earlier this year, like I said, back in April. So, however, that is not the case. Gav Thorpe, one of the writers for this Ultimate Edition, basically wrote this on X just earlier this morning, December 28, 5:02 a.m. And he was asked, just confirming because of all the ruckus with the DK book, female Custodes are still a part of Warhammer, correct? And he says, yes, of course they are. Not every miniature is included. And I don't recall exactly, but we may have already finished that section when the series miniature went public. DK didn't have access to pre-release pics. So he's also indicating that there might actually be female miniatures, although we have not seen those. I know a lot of people are saying that there are female miniatures, but they all have their helmets on, right? So you can't actually tell that they're females. But we do know that they did release the Tithe series where they show a female Custodes, which we're going to get to here. So just to recap, if you don't remember what exactly happened, Games Workshop infamously retconned the Adeptus Custodes by adding females in their 10th edition of Codex Adeptus Custodes. An excerpt said this, Custodian Calidis Tarvalia Kesh stood upon the bridge of a Cobra-class destroyer named Vigilant Flame. The warship belonged to the mighty Battlefleet Solar. She lingered in the shadows at the back of the bridge. It was later confirmed in another excerpt that person, Kesh, was indeed a female Custodes, given that she wields a Guardian Spear. Kesh was warned before anyone else aboard, sensing a sudden empiric energy spike coupled with the surge of overpressure and sharp temperature drop that presaged a teleport strike. Her Guardian Spear was leveled and armed before the first cry of alarm or howl of a klaxon rang through the bridge. We then had the official Warhammer account here over on X, April 14, 2024, posting this. Since the first of the 10,000 were created, there have always been female custodians. Obviously, that was not true. They had always been male before this until they decided to not only retcon this, but then gaslight all of their enthusiasts by claiming they had always been there when they hadn't. Previous lore books made it very clear that they were recruited from sons and that they were an all-male organization. Games Workshop has since doubled down and tripled down on this throughout the year. In a blog post, they removed gendered language, noting that only boys and males could become custodians. Instead, it now says potential custodians are taken in at a very young age to better survive the rigors of their transformation, no older than late infancy, for the fundamental changes that will be wrought upon their flesh, minds, and souls are tantamount to apotheosis. It is considered a great honor for those of Terran noble houses to submit a child. So obviously, previous entries on the Codex said that newborn sons, right, and infant sons were what made up custodians. And now they've changed it to child, indicating that you can be both male or female. And who knows, they'll probably even have some weirdo transgender stuff that will come out in the future, because these people never go back up the slippery slope. They always go down the slippery slope. And I hate to break it to the people who thought that this was going to actually be retconning this stuff out of existence. Has there ever been a case where they actually do indeed go back up the slippery slope? I don't think we've seen that, at least in recent history. It always goes one way. The ratchet never goes back. It always continues down the slippery slope. And then, as I kind of foreshadowed, they tripled down too, right? They introduced that female custodians in the Warhammer 40,000 animated, the Tithe series, and they said on its website, Tyrith Shiva Kairos, the first three of a long list of honorific names earned fighting for the Emperor, has the privilege of being our first portrayal of a female custodian guardian since the recent revelations that custodians can be any gender. The company added, this fact came as a real surprise to many, since it wasn't something previously explored. That in and of itself isn't a particularly unusual thing for Warhammer 40,000 and its lore. There are simply loads of things the Warhammer studios have never expressly stated, whether that's ruling them in or out. So obviously trying to further gaslight their enthusiasts onto why they were making this change. From there, Warhammer continued to justify this massive retcon and gaslight its enthusiasts and hobbyists even further, saying, since the earliest conversations about bringing the Horus Heresy to the tabletop and Black Library fiction, the exact nature of the custodians has been under discussion. After all, their origins and means of creation, unlike, for example, the Legiones, Adeptus Astartes, are shrouded in mystery, or the legions. The significant advantage to this portrayal is that it helps us to address a common misconception that the custodians are just bigger, better Space Marines. They aren't. Space Marines were made through industrialized ritual to be mass-produced brute force weapons of conquest, and even 10,000 years after their creation, draped in self-assigned glory. That's still true of them at their core. Each custodian, on the other hand, is unique, painstakingly made through peerless craft and arcane artifice. Their physique, their psyche, their very soul is a bespoke instrument of the Emperor they unquestionably serve. So they, again, like I said, they doubled and they tripled down on this. Anyone getting their hopes that this was like retconning these female custodians after all of this stuff that they've done throughout the year was just simply deluding themselves. I hate to say that, but that is what is happening. I know that there's people want to get up hope that things are going to get better, but I mean, there's just so much evidence to the contrary. You do not go back up the slippery slope. You always continue down it. Now, maybe they will lower the pace at which they're going down the slippery slope, which I think is what we're going to see here in the future. But they're going to continue to still push this stuff because these people are true believers. And if you've been following my work for the past decade or so, you know that they don't slow down. They don't actually go back. They continue down the path. It gets worse and worse and worse and worse. I mean, look at where we're at now. There's literal people out there that think men can become women. That was unfathomable to even be in the public discourse just a decade ago. No one was talking about that stuff. And now that is a fight that we're actually having to have in public now. And lots of people have deluded themselves into thinking that that can actually happen when it cannot. So I hate to break it to any people who got their hopes up thinking that this was going to retcon the female Adeptus Custodes. That is not the case. The author of the book, where people were getting their hopes up, literally says they are still there in Warhammer. Yes, of course they are. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.